Welcome everyone to First Wednesdays with Master Coach Gretchen Heido. Today we are talking about how to close open loops. I almost said how to open loops, how to close open loops. Just as a quick reminder, this is posted on Gretchen's YouTube channel. So if you would not like to be recorded, just continue in the chat and I will see you there. Otherwise, here's Gretchen.
Hi, here's Gretchen. I always love it. It's like we're on a little talk show or something. Coaches, I'm so happy to see you, and good for you for coming to this one as well. Because what we did in Stairway to Six and where we kind of paused it was at this part where you may have proposed to your potential clients and there might be an open loop. So let me just for the recording, because sometimes this is the Coaching for Coaches community. I'm going to give just a little bit of a setup and then we'll get into this. So open loops are any time that there is a thought that is open that has not been closed yet. So when you are doing this exercise with your client, an open loop is any kind of a commitment that you've made to yourself or that you're thinking about or that a potential client has maybe made or is thinking about that we want to close so that we can take back the energy. And they range in importance. For this exercise, we're going to do it on your potential clients and do they want to work with you? But let me give you some other examples of what open loops might be, just in case when you are life coaching, you can do an exercise like this with your clients. So open loops can be any kind of a commitment that you've said yes to, but now you're dreading because you didn't really want to do it. So that's almost always what an open loop is. So you said yes to going to lunch with Mary. Mary's lovely, but you don't really want to go to lunch with Mary. And as the day gets closer, you're like, damn, I'm going to have to take an hour to drive there. Then it's going to take this long. And then suddenly you get to tell Mary you're sick or you have the flu because you really didn't want to do it anyway. So that might be an open loop. Sometimes it's things that are vague. So it's one of those that I should. Anytime it's an I should do this, it's an open loop. Maybe it's you yourself wanting to work with a coach or take a speaking program or whatever that might be, and you don't do it, you don't commit to it yet, that can be an open loop. So it's anytime if you think of it as like being on the treadmill that you just keep thinking about it and thinking about it, but you're not making a decision, it's an open loop. And so what we really want to do is we want to help our clients close the loop. And so one thing, and let's just do this right now because I think that this will be helpful for you. And then we'll take it into, how do I close with my clients? But right now, one of the things I want you to do is think of two open loops that you have in your personal life and two open loops that you have in your business life and just write them down. And again, these are anything that you might be tolerating in your life. They could be energy drains. It could include projects that you want to get done, but not really. Habits that you have that you'd like to change. It might be people that you are in relationship with that it's like something needs to happen here. It could be an activity, but it's that kind of a thing that just think about this because we really want to be considering what do you need to do to close the loop. Hi, Heidi. Good to see you. Christy, can you drop the what is this thing called? The handout. Can you drop it in the chat just for the people just joining? Thank you. Hi, Heather. Hi, Lily. So for everyone just joining, we're talking about open loops and we're doing step 1 of the open loop exercise, which Christy's going to paste it into the chat so that you can see it. But we're taking a look at what open loops are, the decisions that need to be made, the things that you're tolerating, anything that is draining you in some way. Here's the other thing with open loops. They can create procrastination, anxiety, or fear instead of creativity and productivity. So that's another way to think of an open loop. So ladies, for those of you who just joined, just look at page 2 and you can kind of do this exercise as we're going along. But now I want those of you who started this exercise, take a minute and write down in the box or right next to where you wrote your personal and business open loops on a scale of 1 to 10. Tell me what your excitement level is about this project or item that you wrote down.
With 1 being least and 10 most, or the other way
Yes,
around?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I'll give you an example. For a long time for me, social media was an open loop. I really should do social media. Oh, I need to hire someone for social media. I should do TikTok. Blah, blah, blah. What was my excitement level? Negative. Negative was my excitement level. I was not excited about it at all. You know, and so when we get to see what our excitement level is, we get to close the loop. So anything that is less than an 8 in excitement is an open loop, and you just need to close it and decide that it's not something that you're going to do. You can put it on your calendar again for 6 months if you want to re-look at it. So when I was thinking about social media with Christy, we did this open loop exercise with me. I don't know, Christy, what, like a year and a half where I was deciding about social media. And then finally it got to the point where it felt more important, but I would only look at it every 6 months so that I could close the loop and stop thinking about it every time I got onto social media. Why am I not on social media? I really should do social media, but I didn't want to do it. Not really. And so this will help you and your client close the loop and take it off the table for a period of time. Okay, so let me get some feedback on you when you're looking at your own things that you wrote down on your list for personal and business. What are you seeing for your excitement level? Okay, Diana, do you mind unmuting and tell me one of these? Kick us off.
So it is and it isn't client related. Creating a landing page for my website. I haven't done it. I don't want to do it. I mean, I want it done and it's important to me, but me actually sitting down and doing it, and I have somebody that'll do it for me. They're just waiting for text, but
I help.
rewording, it's like a 6, 7 in my book.
Okay. So that's good to know, because with this is something then that if you were coaching with your client and you found out it was a 6 or a 7, you did say it's important to me. You could either then coach the person on how could they make it an 8. And for you, I'm hearing if you had a copywriter and someone who could do it and take it off of your plate and just give it back to you for you to look at, and then you edit it, probably would be an 8, might be something that you would do. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
But we might take it off the table if it just felt too hard or now wasn't the time. But I am hearing for you that now actually is the time. We just have to find a way to make it easier. Right? Okay. And so this is how we help our clients and ourselves for what's an open loop and what isn't. What do we need to close? Edward, what about you? What do you have here?
Getting a gym membership.
Oh, getting a gym membership. And where is that scale of 1 to 10?
I put a 6 down there. So, and it just shows my motivation to go get it, you know. Now I'm curious though, Gretchen, as we look at this, I'm excited about joining a gym one, but then I put limitations or limiting beliefs that put it down to 6,
Well, and that's so interesting because that's step 5 of this on the worksheet too. It's like, how are you going to sabotage yourself? And so for you, I'm hearing there's a story or something that's coming through. And so this is where you can either help to coach your client around the story or just ask them, can you take a committed action, whether you are higher on your energy level or not? And sometimes they can, and then that creates the energy level. So it's like, Edward, by the time I talk to you next week, when we talk about all that other stuff we're gonna do, can you join the gym?
Yeah, yeah, totally
Yes.
secure the coaching. Yeah, there.
Right, and
I
then
like that, like my excitement is at an 8, but my self-sabotage brings it down to a 6, and coaching around that would be helpful. Great,
Yeah.
that's
And the
good.
coaching around it could be helpful. And sometimes just asking your client, can you just take an action around it? Might get it to where it's like, oh, I can actually do this. Now, sometimes it's, you know what? I never want a gym membership. I hate working out at the gym, but I would go hike 2 times a week. That I would do because it's outside. So you can see, where do we sometimes need to close the loop that it's actually not a gym membership? Maybe it's a group that you need to be a part of, or is it just that you need to take an action?
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
But yeah, you got it. Who else? What are you seeing in this exercise? How might it be helpful for you?
I'll jump in. I
Yeah,
would
thank
say I also thought I needed a gym membership, but at the end of the day, I'm doing ballroom dancing and getting quite the ab workout. And I needed the social side of it more than I needed the actual workout because I have a spin bike at home. So kudos to no gym membership as a response.
Oh,
Um, for me in my personal life, I think the thing that I'm least excited about is decluttering my house in New York. I'm still working through that after a few years of losing parents. And I think getting that, what I've decided is I'll probably just end up selling it now. I was going to rent it. I had all these things I was holding back. There's the emotional attachment to the things and the history and the memories and all of that. And so I think now that I think decided that I'm at a place where I can sell it, I think that changed my energy level on that one. Right. And it took me just being okay with that acknowledgement that now the rest of the stuff in the house is easy, right? Even though I donated this, I'm decided I'm not selling a darn thing in it because you're not going to make money. It's more hassle than it's worth. Just literally get rid of it. It was the decision not to rent but to sell that changed my energy level. So coaching around that with a client would make the difference, right? Because I was stuck on renting for so long. Then when I revisited the business entity I was going to rent to, they totally changed their game. So that was an easy win for me. I'm not going to make any money. What's the point? So like I might as well just cut my losses and gain something now and then move the stuff into storage if I have to, right? Or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was a huge win for what that's worth.
and that's exactly what we're talking about. I love how you were to close the loop on it, how you got to that other side of it. And when we are doing this work with ourselves and the client, what we're really doing is helping them with their own energy audit. Oftentimes we say we want something, but we don't, not really. And so it's like you're saying, why even bother with the selling it? It's more energy than it's worth. The money sounds good, but there's actually no money to be had with it. So why bother with all of this? But we're helping our clients to have an organized thinking system because often when we all say, I want this, I want that, we don't really want it. We don't, because if we did, we'd be doing it or we'd be taking steps towards it. So with open loops with your clients, you get to ask them questions like, what have you already done to start making this happen? That's going to help you with what's their energy level on it right away. And then with the energy audit of, okay, anything less than an 8, what if you tabled it for 6 months or figured out who you could hire to do it for you? All right. So when we do that with clients, it really helps them to see, oh, you know what? I've been talking about this for 3 years anyway. What would it hurt for another 6 months? And you can think of this like with home projects too. Right now, we really need our deck redone. We're not going to do it right now. We've got kid moving to college. We've got all these things. We're not doing it right now. I'm not. So I close the loop on it. We're not even going to talk about it for 6 more months because it doesn't matter. We're not doing it. And so that will help you though to free up space for what you are going to do. And so when you're doing this exercise, it's, you know what, I'm really not going to do the social media, or I'm really not going to do the deck. I'm not going to do whatever it is, but here's what I am going to do. And then you can help your client or yourself with that excitement. Let me get some feedback there. What are you guys hearing? How might this be helpful?
I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's in line with all coaching principles. So yeah. I mean, I'm trying to do my own real quick here, and I am kind of struggling though. Like, oh, like most of them are below 8, but I have to do something.
Yeah.
You
Have
you
to-
know?
That's right. And so when you're thinking of it though, is there one that it's like, all right, it's below an 8, but I do need to take an action. And in order to take an action, I could do this one thing if maybe it's if I hired help, if I looked at it this other way, if I only did it 3 times instead of every day for the next, 8 weeks of my life. Can you play with it in that way?
Yeah, probably. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what we're looking at. Nick, do you want to unmute?
Sure.
Hey.
About the comment I put in chat.
Sure, go ahead
Yeah,
and share.
I just like the idea of helping the client with an energy audit, but not using those words necessarily.
Right.
I often like to think of I heard the phrase at some point that I really liked about lending someone your cognitive resources. And this was in a different context, but I often think about it in terms of coaching, like helping them either think through cognitively or emotionally through a situation. And I feel like this is a variant of that.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And so for yourself, when you notice the mind going back to something over and over again, should I, shouldn't I, this is where a loop needs to get closed. And so we take it off the table. And again, it doesn't have to be forever. You can give it a timeline. This also really works when your clients come to you and they're having relationship issues. So sometimes clients come to us, they don't know if they should stay at a job. They don't know if they should stay married. They don't know. There's something that's going on there. And this is where you get to help them decide, is this something that you truly want to take action on now? Or would you like to close the loop on it by just deciding that you are going to do this for 6 more months? And if this problem is still here in 6 more months, that you will look at it again. And I can tell you, because I coach a lot of women and they do have relationship stuff, that for the women that I coach, especially around their marriages or their relationships, that when they say, no, I'll still do this for 6 more months, we look at, how will you do it for 6 more months? So we're no longer talking that you're going to get a divorce. You can stop thinking about that, put it on your calendar. In 6 months on this day, you can ask yourself again, am I getting divorced today? If the answer is no, let's close the loop. But if we are closing it, in what way will you be able to manage this? In what way will you be able to stay in this position? So that's also another way to use the open and closed loops. Edward, I see your hand.
Thank you. What is the significance of 6 months versus 3 months or 1 year, or even another measurement, like when I have a certain amount of money or when I get a certificate in something? What is the threshold, we determine to delay?
I love this question. So sometimes the reason it's 6 months, one is I just chose that it was 6 months. That's the truth. But psychologically, what it is that for real change to happen and for the subconscious to be able to relax, if I know I have to do something in 90 days, I'm still amped up about 90 days. 90 days doesn't feel that far for me. And even in my mind that I've closed the loop, I'm still preparing for what's going to happen in 90 days. 6 months feels kind of far, that it's like, oh, I really don't have to think about that right now. I said I wasn't going to. And if I'm saving up, a lot of times for people, it can take 6 months to save up. Now, here's the caveat to that. If intuition strikes, the money's there, the whatever it is, of course you can reopen the loop. You had an intuitive thought. You met the right person. You can reopen it before the 6 months if you're ready to take an action. It's just we're not allowing the mind to open it up again to think about it, should I not, until it's ready to take an action.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about this before I show you how to do this with your clients, the client creation piece of things? All right, so this is a great exercise to use when clients have quite a few things that they want to take action on. Sometimes they're overwhelmed by all of it. There's these 10 projects, 10 ideas, whatever it might be, but it's a way to prioritize energy and prioritize what they have the finances for and prioritize what they really want. How many of these things are shoulds, and it's a good thing for you to be doing as well. Now let's talk about client creation. So the way that I've been teaching it to those of you who have been a part of Stairway to Six and the way that I teach it on the YouTube videos are, We have that first connection call. The connection call is not coaching. You're getting to know one another. You're seeing if coaching is a good fit. You go through those different questions. Excuse me. What would you like to achieve by the end of 2024? What would it mean to you if you did? What have you already tried? Where are you stuck? What's been hard? You open it up for their questions. You give your highest recommendation. You talk to them about the way you work. You've gotten to that point. You offer the actual coaching conversation where you coach them. And that gets us to this next part. Okay. So when your client is I have to think about it. I have to talk to my wife. I have to talk to my husband. I have to talk to my accountant, whoever. I have to consider it. What they're really saying is now I'm going to have an open loop about this. There still might not be something that they're finding in the value. There's still lack of value. It might just be lack of finances. Who knows? But the considering piece. So here's what you want to do with that. Because you are coming at this as a professional, successful coach, not a, gee, I hope they work with me. It would really mean the world if I got this. I need this for my mortgage. But if it's of service and in alignment with both of our passions and talents, and it can really move them forward, then I'd like to do it. And I hope they do too. This is what you do. When they say I have to think about it, you're going to say, good. What is it that you need to consider? And you want to ask them that. It is not rude. It is a way to help them with their organized thinking. What is it that you're needing to consider? It might make them uncomfortable. That's okay. You want to find out, is it finances? Is it that you didn't hit the value? Because they might say, well, I don't really understand what we would do. You don't want them out there thinking about it by themselves then. You want to get into that right there on that coaching call. You might have to offer another coaching session. It just depends on what has happened. Maybe they say, I have to consider it because of the timing. My child's graduating, this one's doing this is happening there. I want to make sure that I can be fully present. I'm ready and I'm committed, but the timing just might not be right for what I have going on in my life. That gives you other information. It might be, I really do need to look at the finances. This is quite an investment and I need to figure out where I can pull it from. Either way, you want to make sure that you have a date of when the two of you are going to talk again. So I typically will say, great, think about it, do your consideration. And while you do, here's what I want you to write down. And this is where, for those of you who have been in the Stairway to Six program, you have this template. For those of you who haven't and who are watching, you want them to write down vision. Okay, so this is what we'd be coaching on. We'd be coaching around your vision. Feed it back to them what you heard their vision was, your vision of building a successful coaching business, your vision of whatever it might be. Each time we coach, we'd be building your strategy. You want them to write down the word strategy to create your vision. Underneath that, they write down the word mindset. We're going to take a look at your mindset to see what might be getting in the way of this vision. What are the beliefs you have? I mean, Edward just said, he wants to join the gym, but his mindset isn't allowing him to be able to do that. So we coach around the mindset so that the person can hit their vision while we create that strategy. And then we do this thing with the open loops where we do the energy audit, where you're going to help them to see right now, if money weren't an issue, scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about coaching? If we really didn't have to think about the money, this is going to be very telling too. And you can tell them, it's okay wherever you're at. Give me your honest answer. Where are you with this? They might say I'm only a 5. If they're a 5, it's a good indicator that they didn't understand what coaching is and they didn't see the value, or they're just not ready as a client. But these are going to be good pointers for you of knowing, where is this client in the process? So then you're going to schedule that 30 minutes with them. The 30 minutes is to help them to close the loop. And you're even going to say, let's schedule 30 minutes in 48 hours. And then we can close the loop on this, that we can decide if you're going to move forward or if we're going to take it off the table for now. And what that does is it helps them to relax, that it's not anything where they have to avoid you. They don't have to not respond to emails, and you don't have to send annoying emails saying things like just checking in, because you're not just checking in. What you're saying really is just wanting to know if you're going to pay me. So we want to just be professional the whole way through and be able to close the loop. In that conversation, if you have already coached them, you're gonna go over how did it go for you with whatever they committed to what they were going to do. All right, so how did it go with, you know, signing up for the gym? How did it go with finding that social media expert? And this way you get to hear from them, were they a person that was able to take action? Or were they not? There might be another coaching opportunity right there for them. So that's what we're doing. And then on that call, you say, okay, so Edward, I know that we were talking about working together. The fee was something that you needed to consider. As you were considering it, what came through for you? What feels like your truth about coaching right now? So you'll see, I'm not going to get stuck in his money story. I'm asking him, what's true for you right now? And he can say it's too much. Great. Let's close the loop on it then. And here's what I'd like you to do. If in the next 6 months, something changes for you and your view of this investment, the way that you're feeling about the money changes, and your excitement level is maybe 5% more than your concern for the money, contact me and let's have another conversation. That's a really good way to do it. Or you can just simply say, okay, I really understand. I am not always the coach that someone's going to work with for their first time in coaching. It's no problem. You're not always going to work with me the first time that we've talked, but you'll see that I'm closing the loop. You know, I'm taking it off the table. Any questions on that before I tell you how to do this in email? Questions or
Rich?
comments? Yeah.
You said you wanted us to write down 5 things. I wrote down 3: vision, strategy, mindset.
Mindset, energy audit, and resources.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? I think I just stopped saying them. So thank you for bringing me back on track. Yes, that's what you're going to have them write down. And what they're going to be considering between the time that you guys end that conversation in the 48 hours is, hey, do I want to work with this guy or this gal who says they can help me with my vision of, we're going to coach, we're going to be building a strategy. We're going to look at my mindset and my blocks, going to create this energy audit, and there's going to be resources along the way. Does that feel valuable to me? And their subconscious is going to go to work on it, especially when there's a deadline, because we are problem solvers. And so it's going to be thinking about, well, how can I do it? If I were going to do it, how could I do it? They still might have some trepidation about making the investment, but the subconscious will figure it out if there is a way to do it. Comments or questions there?
Yeah, is that also why you put the time limit on, if in the next 6 months, if that changes, get back with me, instead of, if this changes sometime in the rest of your life, get back with me?
It can really be any time in your life, but I do say within 6 months. Hey, in the next 6 months, if anything shifts, get a hold of me.
Yeah. It kind of adds a bit of urgency and probably triggers the subconscious, like you said.
Exactly. And it shows that I'm going to close the loop on it. And then if I'm not going to hear from you in 6 months, in my mind, I'm probably never going to hear from you. That's what it says to them. And so they know, like, wow, this is kind of a 6-month offer.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. Now, here's something else that you can do too. Let's say that you weren't brave enough on the call to say, let's check back in 48 hours, because sometimes your own internal dialogue is going to show up and say, that feels pushy, that feels too much, that feels this, that feels that. Let's just say that you didn't do it. It's okay. You can still do this through email. And email Heidi, so good to coach with you today. Here's what I wanted to go over with you. What we'd be working on is vision, strategy, mindset, energy audit, resources, and you can write it all out instead. And then you can say, please let me know by Thursday if this feels like a yes for you. And if it does, we'll move forward. Now, if Thursday comes and goes, or if a client was going to think about it and they don't show up for the call, or they don't get back to you because you didn't book a call, you get to send an email that says, all right, Heidi, it was so wonderful being with you. Let's close the loop and take coaching off of the table for now. If your excitement level shifts, get a hold of me. Wishing you nothing but the best, however you want to close it. But there's a powerful thing that happens when we as the professional take it back off the table. It says, I'm a professional. I only have so much time in my calendar. I'm not going to be holding the spot for you. And this will trigger the other person then to either say, oh no, there was this thing that happened in my family. I do want to do it, or whatever it might be. But it closes the energy for you, dear coach. And this is the most important part, so that you can open up for the next connection call, for the next possibility. But when we're thinking in our heads, wow, I talked to Heidi, I talked to Edward, I talked to Nick, and I didn't hear back. I wonder if they're going to work with me. And you're thinking about that. They're not going to work with you. They didn't get back to you. Closing that energy will help you then to be thinking about, who's the next person that I can serve. But if we're thinking about these ones that are over here and it's open, it's hard to stand in our professional self. All right, let me get some feedback on that.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
If there are people that you just reached out to, inviting them, no, you haven't even invited them to the 30-minute call yet. You're just saying, hey, such and such recommended, such and such thought we should connect. This is what I do. If you'd like to learn more, I'd like to learn more about you, contact me. If they don't contact you, can you just close the loop without reaching back to them?
Oh yeah, because if they haven't contacted you, they're not interested.
Okay.
So here's the other part of that too. When we do reach out, it's not even just so-and-so connected us and I'd love to learn more. It's so-and-so connected us and told me that now would be an important time in your life for coaching. I have these 2 spots available next week. Please answer these 3 questions if it feels important with you, and you can get on my calendar. So we're not going to do any of that conversational, oh, it's so nice to meet you, unless it truly is just a, hey, you two should talk type of thing. That's different. But if we think that it's about coaching, you always set it up so that it's a coaching trail. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. How are you feeling about taking it off the table when you've made an offer, you haven't heard back, the person said they'd get back to you? How do you feel about that email of, hey, Gretchen, great talking to you. We were supposed to talk on this day, or I know that you were going to get back to me by whenever. I didn't hear from you. Right now, I think let's go ahead and close the loop on this and take coaching off of the table. How does that sit with all of you?
I think for me it sits well because I've done it and it feels freeing. Because it's one less thing hanging over my head. And like, hey, so and so, like thinking, hey, so and so hasn't gotten back to me. It's been, a week or two. Like I probably should check in even though I really don't want to. So no, I think it's freeing.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you're seeing it as freeing, because that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Who else? How is this hitting you about closing the loop? Yeah, Heather.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it feels good. And then there's this little voice going, and it feels slightly manipulative too, to me, though. I don't know.
Can you say more about the manipulative part?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where closing the energy down for yourself and just sort of letting it go. And if it's meant to be kind of thing, they're coming back. But I think it does pack a punch a little bit, of like, well, we're taking it off the table. Like, you know what I mean? You didn't jump on it, so there. So it has, I think, a little bit of a like manipulative feel, like you really have tossed the ball pretty hard back into their court, so to speak. But
I wonder what's another way to think of it, that how could you make this feel less manipulative?
I mean, I guess just saying this is where it lands. This is the best for everybody right now. It's not the right time.
Yeah, and so if you think of
Yeah.
it that way, that's really what we're doing when we close the loop.
Yeah.
It's the same with your own open loops that we were talking about before, that when we close the loop, it allows them to have energy for something else. And often I will say that in the email that, Heather, it was so great coaching with you and getting to know you. I know that we were going to check back. Haven't heard from you right now, so that you can put your energy on something else. Let's just take this off the table. If you decide later that this feels like the right fit and the right time, reach out. Wishing
Got
you
it.
the best.
Yeah, that feels better.
Yeah. So it's all in the wording, it's in the tone. It depends on your own personality for the way that you want to say it. But either way, really using the words, let's take this off the table, let's close the loop on this. It's even subconsciously, when people are thinking of it, that they're like, oh. And again, I typically will say why. That way you can put your energy towards something else. Michelle, do you want to comment? I saw you there in the chat.
Yeah, I just basically said like it lets everybody sort of move forward. Like you're free to do what you need to do. I'm free to go ahead and pursue the clients that are really excited about working with me. And everybody wins in that scenario. And no hard feelings. It's just not right for us right now.
And that is nothing personal. That's the other piece of this. And Nick, I see your hand. Here's one more thing I want to say about this, especially when it's in the circles that we're in, right? So we are all part of different organizations, different alumni groups, different places that we go. Maybe it's networking groups. You don't want it to be awkward or feeling like you have to avoid the person or that they feel like they have to avoid you when they see you. So when you close the loop, it's like, hey, and I'll see you at that thing, looking forward to it. And it's no problem, but it shows your level of professionalism and to let them be able to go and do whatever it is that they need to do as well. Nick.
I kind of like it. Not in and of itself, I think it's actually pretty easy, but it surfaces if you as a coach have issues earlier, like kind of upstream. And what I mean by that is if you aren't comfortable, if you are desperate for a client, then that will show up in this point. And you really have to become clear on that stuff. Or like if you are trying to take responsibility for the client's money story or the client situation, when that's really not any of our job or responsibility, it'll show up there. I like that.
This is exactly where it shows up, because this is where coaches find themselves sending emails that say, hey, Nick, just thinking about you, checking in. And then it has some long thing about, I know you said that this felt too expensive. What I've thought about is, discounting it by $1,000. Is that a yes? Those sorts of things where we don't even know if they've really closed the loop and we're already discounting. And so this also opens it up for a conversation if they want another conversation. I love the heart.
Gretchen, so do you ever go back to those folks you close the loop on to like 3 months later or 6 months later and say, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what you would say, but do you ever go back to those clients?
I do. A lot of times if it's someone that I'm excited to work with.
Okay.
So if I'm not excited to work with them, no. But if I'm excited to work with them and I really did think, hey, this could have been a nice match, depending on what it is and the timing and everything else that I have on my schedule and just intuitively, never sooner than 3 months, but I will reach out and just say, hey, Diana, how's it going? We had that coaching conversation back in April, and I know that you really wanted a better system for creating clients. What did you come up with? And then this is where the client gets to say either nothing and they ghost you, or I haven't done a thing on it yet, we should talk, or hey, I found someone and this is what I did, or this is what I've tried. But it gives you one more breadcrumb trail, one more piece in that of knowing where they're at. What else are you learning or taking from this? Okay. So I guess we can close the loop on the close the loop conversation. Yeah, no problem, Joel. See you later. Good to see you. So does anyone have anything going on in their business right now with a potential client or current client that you'd like to workshop and throw out to the group? We have a few minutes. Or anything else that you're wondering about your client creation, we can just open the floor to workshop a little bit if it's helpful to you.
I'm struggling a little bit. It's a bit of an open loop, half not me loop and half client loop, where referrals are either through individuals I've coached before, friends who want to refer me, and there's that third party problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get them to refer me so I can have that direct link to the client. And I find myself caught in this goat rope of going in circles with that third party that I just quickly want to get them off the X. And so I'd really welcome some advice on how to shape that through the referral a little bit to get there quicker, because I'm spending a lot of time and it's not coaching, it's not even getting to the person. And I'm trying to not give that interlocutor a lot because I don't want them to shape it because I won't know what I'm getting into, right? So I'm trying to get to the human that is the prospective client quickly, and it's just clunky. On the one hand, you welcome the referrals, but I'd really appreciate some thoughts on how to get off that X quickly with them.
So are you saying that someone will refer you, and then once you're referred, this is where it's hard to get to the person that you need to talk to?
Because they want to give them my information, not the other way around, right? And so it becomes like a controlled referral, for lack of a better term, where I can't reach out directly and have my spin on it, or even frankly say what coaching is and isn't in a way
Yeah.
that will resonate. So I even can plant the seed well, if you know what I mean. So I'm dealing with that connection piece. Either it happens in a more clunky way with personal referrals, not necessarily clients who've worked with me know, but there's others too where I just can't get them there, and it seems like a waste of time. But like, I see the perspective wanting the coaching, so I'm also in this space of
Yeah.
if that's a proper space to scream, that's where I'm at right now.
I really understand what you're saying. And so here's the art of referrals. If someone's going to refer me, usually what I will say is, tell me why you think I should talk to Heidi. Well, I know that you want to connect us, but tell me what I need to know about her. Why do you think this is important for her right now? What do you think the reason is that, she would use coaching? So what it does is it starts getting it in their mind as well, of like, oh, she really could help her. Here's all of the things. And then I will tell them, please do a bridge email and tell them a little bit about me, and in that email, tell me a little bit about them, even though I will have already talked to them. And that's the way that I like my referrals done. But I always spend time with the person doing the referring to get to know more, because then what happens is, after they've done the referral, they're really following up to the person. Heidi, did you talk to Gretchen yet? Heidi, you really should, and they've already thought of all of the reasons. Something else that you can do with the referrals is you can say, hey, instead of just referring me, tell them that you got them a gifted session with me. And it's free, because you're just saying that, it's like, Christy, tell Heidi that you gifted her a session with me. But it feels important because they think then that it's like, hey, she thought of me enough to gift me this time and to get this for me. So that's another way to do referrals. It's not a straight referral. It's like, hey, tell them that you gifted them a session. That's something else that you can do. Another way to do it too is that anyone who wants to refer you can say, I really appreciate it, and let me gift you a coaching session so that you really know what it is that you're referring. So those three things tend to work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which one did you like the best?
Gifting the coaching session.
Yeah, that's
because
my favorite.
ultimately the one that's clunky is a friend who I coached when I was in my early days, and now is a coach herself, actually, more in the health arena, and works for a company. So they have kind of a canned approach to doing things. So it's very structured. And leadership coaching is not like that, because you're tailoring it to whatever the needs and the agenda of the client. So that's been some of the challenge I'm working through, is a coach with a structured environment, and I'm very open to working with the client's agenda. So it's very different. And so that's where there's been some challenges with the art of the referral. And I think if I gift the session to that perspective, that will just cut that out.
There you go.
Which
Great.
I said, we have a discovery call, and then I usually have a session that's part of the initial before we sign a package, but I don't know that I phrased it in that way. So thanks for that.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Diana, I see your hand.
Yes, I am trying to decide what to do with two open loop potentials. So what I did was I offered to my existing clients a complimentary coaching session to someone in their lives.
Mhm.
I got two folks. One of them I'd like to work with, one of them I would love to work with.
Okay.
I did the coaching, but what I did was I did it according to the way that you learn in school. You know, you set the objective, you know, for what it is that they want to talk. You set the time limit. I didn't know what I know now. And so I did this coaching. At the end of it, they were both really happy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the connection call script, and so I didn't do anything to bring it to closure, except for if you'd like to, you know, work with me, let me know. After 2 months, I followed up, which was just about a week ago, right? In an email, did exactly what you suggest we don't do. Well, I did a little bit better. I said,
Just
hey, how you doing? How's it
Um,
going with? And I named specifically what we talked about. How's it going with your, you know, managing that diverse team?
Yep.
Got back to me. Both of them got back to me. The one that I would really love to was a little bit more clear and said, you know, this is a difficult time of the year for me with the closure of the semester and all kinds of things happening on campuses. I really enjoyed our conversation. As soon as I can think of a way to pay for it, if I can get my, you know, department to pay for it, and as soon as I have more time, I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm on a treadmill only because I'd really like to work with this person, and I'm not sure if I go back in, is it too soon? Is it pushy? Can I repair the
Yeah.
steps that I
100% can. So what you can say is, let's set up 30 minutes. I've got some ideas. Because she doesn't even know how to work with you yet. You never gave her a price, right? So how does she know what it is? So it's like, hey, got some ideas. Let's spend 30 minutes together. And this is where you'd give her your highest recommendation. Like, listen, I know that the last time we talked, we did not go over pricing or anything like that, but here's what I'm seeing as my highest recommendation for you, especially in light of X, Y, and Z. How does that hit? Let's brainstorm how you might be able to get, you know, the institution to pay for it.
and I can do that in an email.
I would say, I've got some ideas for you. Let's schedule 30 minutes.
Oh,
Then,
got you.
yes, got it?
Yep. Okay, great.
How does that land?
It was wonderfully because I was caught, I was on the treadmill, like, oh, should I? Maybe I'll just leave it alone. But if I say, okay, you know, yeah, in 30 minutes, yeah, he can do 30 minutes.
There we go.
Okay, great.
Yeah, great. I love how you're seeing the possibilities we're going through it. Edward, did you have your hand raised?
I did. I wanted to offer Heidi something in her
Please
issue.
do.
If that's okay. Heidi, is that okay to offer something? You know, I had that same similar situation where the referral was very controlling. And my approach was I would say, you know, Heidi, thank you for referring me to Christy. Here's this is an email. This is what I think she may need to know. I'm offering a free session to her. This is what I do and all that's just all pertinent information. Feel free to forward this email to her. So it's very, very easy. You don't have to formulate any additional thoughts. All that information is there and it's just a forward, you know, and it seems to go really, really well. So just a thought.
It's another way to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions or comments for tonight? All right. Let me hear some of your takeaways. What did you learn and how will you use closing the loop?
My big takeaway is we don't need to spend energy holding on to unclosed loops. So just release it. You know, we have more time and attention that deserves to be placed elsewhere. So we deserve to close the loop.
Good. Really helps you show up as a professional as well. Who else? What's another takeaway?
I want to add not just releasing it, but really aligning who's the dream client to get that 8 out of 10. If they're not willing to go the next step and respond immediately, then I'm not wasting my time. And I've had closed the loops and it's so relieving, less overwhelmed, and to try to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Who else? Another takeaway.
I like it to get through just my daily, to-do list. It's like, do this, don't do it, make a decision, move on.
You know what? I love the way that you just said that too. That's such a good soundbite of it because it's really the truth. Do it, don't do it, do this, move on, you know, whatever that might be. And it helps us then to be able to really get focused, especially when we're starting building our businesses or we have so many ideas. It's like, well, which one? Use the energy audit. Which one are you really going to do? Which one do you want to take off the table for now? You can always put it back on at a different time, but it'll help you to get mentally organized as well. Anyone else want to share before we say goodnight?
I think that's what's doing it for me, that getting mentally organized myself. Because I have so much to do and so many things that I want to do. So that's it. And the other thing is that it's hard for me to experience loss. So the idea of freeing myself up to have better things and also sharing that with my, clients, let's make room for something that we want to do is very helpful for me because then it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like gain. It feels like, yeah.
That's right. It's not loss, it's freedom. It's a choice. And that's where too, so many times we feel like we don't have any choices. No, you do. You do have choices on where you're going to build your business, what you're going to spend your time on, if you're going to clean out the garage or not. You do have choices. We have to get really honest about what's our energy level, what's our enthusiasm level towards something. And we always know what our answer is. We just don't always like it, but we do know what it is. And so it's just a real honest point with people as well. So it really brings everything into integrity. Very professional. I'm always so glad to see all of you. I hope that you have a wonderful month of May for those of you who I won't see until June. And yeah, have a really good night, everybody. Take good night. You're welcome, Michelle.